Come with me to ruin this buffet.
As you can see, it is worn to the bone. There is no color left. So let's see if this is even possible to work with.
Well, this project just became an experiment. I probably should have read this first, but do not apply to green timber, oily woods, example, teak. I will.
Hi, my name is Brian Erickson. I'm a master trainer, repair technician at Revive with over 20 years experience. What are we looking at today?
Today we are going to be looking at DIY furniture restoration.
Okay.
So these are people who have attempted furniture restoration themselves, and these are popular videos on TikTok. How do you feel about people doing their own furniture restoration?
It's fun, I enjoy it, and they should too. With the right information, they'll be successful.
I was bamboozled by this $15 dresser that I found at Habitat for Humanity. And yes, I was aware before buying it that it's missing half its leg. That was actually the least of my problems.
It's good that she's cleaning the surface. It's removing all the contaminants.
Precisely cut the veneer and then glued in the new piece. Taped and clamped that into place and then repeated it about 15 more times.
Yeah, she did a nice job with the veneer.
Now for the part you might think would be the hardest, but to me is the easiest part, replacing the leg. Because I got my dad to do it. The most important part was making sure the dowel inserts lined up so the leg would sit square. We used the original piece of the leg as a guide, but the only way to find out if it actually worked was to glue it up. And drum roll, please. We did it! The only thing left to do now was to finish it. So I cleaned it with toxic chemicals. And this is the part where things go terribly, terribly wrong. To match the new wood with the old wood, I knew I was gonna have to use a toner. And instead of grabbing the denatured alcohol, I accidentally grabbed the acetone. Unfortunately for me, I knew exactly what I had to do. Take it all off. So I removed the finish, sanded it all back down again. So I went back to toning it, this time making my toner correctly. And this is how it turned out. Wow! It looks basically the same. So I don't even want to sell it anymore, and I'm definitely not keeping it.
Turned out really nice, considering, you know, she had a few mistakes.
Final thoughts about what you saw?
She did a really nice job with the veneering. The mistakes, grabbing the wrong solvent, anyone can do that. It's best not to, but it's sometimes unavoidable. But she recovered it, and her job turned out perfect. Looks great.
Toning veneer, that sounds difficult.
It's a number of steps that you can use. Toning is a base color that you can use beneath stains or beneath glazes. It's nice. A way to add a good base color to your project.
How do you feel about her getting her dad to help?
Well, when it comes to using power tools and things like that, it's best if you don't have the experience to get some help there, because anything can go wrong when you have a table saw spinning blade like that.
Would you hire them?
Yes, I would. Oh, this piece is in rough shape. This looks pretty weathered. Well, the piece looked pretty bad to start with.
I would have just looked at that and been like, this piece is done. What do you think?
Yeah, I would have too. I would have been on the fence whether or not I wanted to refinish it. It did turn out really nice though. It had that weathered barn look, and especially the top. The top was impressive the way it turned out.
What do you think would motivate someone to restore a piece that far weathered and that far gone?
Maybe it was a family heirloom. Maybe it belonged to somebody. Maybe it had some sentimental value. You know, it could have been grandma's from the farmhouse. Who knows?
And would you hire them?
Yes, he did really good work. I liked the work he did. He stripped it, blending in and using all the old wood joinery techniques and doweling and adding new wood. That was looked pretty good there.
Let's see if we could bring this restoration hardware couch back to life that I just picked up, but it does need a lot of work. As you can see, it is worn to the bone. There is no color left. So let's see if this is even possible to work with. So I'm taking some brown bear spray paint here, mixed in with some actual leather Brillo paint. Just gonna mix the two together. For the frame, all we need is just some conditioner. It's not too worn out. Just a little bit here and it looks good as new. And you can see before on the right versus after on the left, a lot better. Now for the worst of it, the corner cushion. Just gonna do like before where we take some heat, mixed in with the bear spray paint. We'll hit the left side first, followed by the right side over here. And then after the bear spray sits for a little bit, we'll take some Brillo spray paint, apply 2 or 3 coats, and that will help hide some of the discoloration. That last step, we're gonna fix this big rip in the corner. When there's a rip like this, there's not much you can do. You can either patch it or you can try to sew it up. Sewing leather is very difficult. I like to sew it. I think it looks better than having a big patch on the corner. So just little by little here, we're gonna rope this thread through, tie it together. Not perfect, but it looks a lot better than before. And just like that, it is all done.
That's a pretty aggressive job to take on. Leather repair is not easy. It did look like a pulled up type leather, like real leather. So I'm not sure if painting it was the right way to go. Normally we use a dye. It did turn out really nice in this case. Again, like I said, I'm not familiar with those products. The end result definitely looks like he's been doing this for a while.
Didn't get a good look, but how'd you rate his sewing job? That was kind of tacked on at the end.
Generally we try to, our goal is to make the repair invisible. There we can still see the repair. So covering the damage was good, making the repair invisible was not so good. He definitely made it look 100% better than it was before. Not very many young people are getting into the maker and hands-on movement anymore, so it's nice to see younger people getting involved with furniture repair.
I bought an ugly dresser that's 90% particle board, but I saw its potential, so let's give it a makeover. I grabbed some 220 grit sandpaper and scuff sanded the entire surface, filled in the damaged areas with wood filler, sanded it smooth, and painted the entire dresser. I grabbed some pole wrap, cut it to size, and glued it on each of the drawers. I added some modern hardware, and here it is now. I am so glad I saw this dresser's potential, even if it's not solid wood. Let me know what you think and follow for more fun furniture makeovers.
It was a really good do-it-yourself project.
What are some of the considerations you have in working with cheaper case good wood products?
Here again would be the durability. Those substrates usually don't, the paint doesn't adhere 100% to those items, so generally it will tend to scratch off a little easier. So it's a good do-it-yourself project, but not something that we would be looking for to do to furniture.
This was the first instance where we had someone do some decorative work. They glued a wood finish. How common is that? And is that the right way to approach that type of aesthetic choice?
I would use both glue and mechanical fastening, whether it's air nails or screws. This is definitely an artistic value. So if it looks good and it's functional and you're going to use it, then yeah, it's a win-win for her.
Would you hire her?
I don't know. It's not real restoration work. I think maybe, some more projects down the road, her experience level would increase, and maybe down the road. These are tough ones.
I removed the old hardware and then cleaned it using a degreaser and sanding down the entire top of the piece. I primed the entire piece with a stain blocking primer and then painted it a really neutral gray. I decided to paint it a greenish bluish color, and it looked so much better and also not as farmhouse looking. I added a semi-gloss top coat and some new modern hardware. Let me know in the comments how much I should list this piece for, and this is not your grandma's furniture anymore.
How do you feel about that one?
I think she did a really good job. She followed all our steps that we recommend, even here in the shop. She degreased it, cleaned the surface, prepped it for paint, sanded down the top, get it ready for stain, and then she used a really good quality primer. A good quality primer is key to the painted adhesion and durability. And she put on multiple coats, giving it a good durable coat, and she stained the top, looked really good. And I hope she can sell that for a good price.
What are your considerations when you're restoring an older piece? Because this looks like an older hardwood piece of furniture.
There's really not much you could do with it. I guess it's more of the style and the dated appearance of it. So first she cleaned it, and then she sanded it down, and then she stained it and lacquered it, which is good. She did a really nice job restoring this piece to the way that she wanted it to look.
She went with a paint finish and a stain on the top. She made a comment about it at the start, but her commenters say that she ruined the piece of furniture by painting over the beautiful hardwood or the veneer that was on the outside. Do you believe she ruined it, or would you have taken a different approach?
No, she didn't ruin it. She took a piece and then she changed its appearance so that it becomes more appeasing, like nice to look at, and so she wants to use it, and it's nice.
Halfway through the restoration, she painted, she primed it gray, and then she stained the top. And then she said she made a different decision. She wanted to go a different way. Do you ever run into that situation where you're restoring it one way, and then you see it kind of in action, and you think maybe I'll go with a different stain or a different paint? Is that common?
Yes, it is. Sometimes your choice of colors may not turn out the way you want them to, so then you may have to adjust your color and maybe add more color or change the color altogether. I think she did an excellent job, and yes, I would hire her. Ooh.
That's what I said when I saw that one.
You see, when they were stripping it, you can see a lot of color came off in the finish. Wow, they did a nice job. It looked like fun. I would have enjoyed refinishing that piece. I like working on the period pieces like that. It's always fun to see the workmanship because it's far different than what modern furniture has.
You talked about the stripper that they used and that a lot of color came off with that. What is that indicative of?
That tells me that there was some shader or toners that were on top of the wood, not necessarily. So not all the color came from a stain, a wiping stain that penetrates the wood. Some of the color was coming off in the finish. So that means that there was some color in the varnish itself.
Is that indicative of someone refinishing it kind of after the piece has been done, or do you think that was done, when the piece was originally made?
It was done when the piece was originally made. It's a clue to watch for when you're restoring an item, so then you can see what steps the original finisher took to get to the color that is on there now.
Why is it important that you keep track and restore the hardware as well?
Because you want to keep the original hardware, keep that period. You want to restore everything you can on the piece, keep it as original as possible.
How did you feel seeing a mirror that big on a piece that old?
It was intact, and that's a good sign. So usually when I'm looking at an older piece, there's chips and cracks and scratches in the back of the mirror that translate through to the front. So that mirror was in really good shape.
And how did they do, and would you hire them?
I think that they did a really good job, and yes.
Come with me to turn this old dated coffee table into an ultra luxury dupe. I started with 40 grit just to get the initial clear coat off, only to come to realize that this was a veneer and not even solid wood. My plan B was just to take my quick setting plaster and fill in any of the little bumps and holes that were left in this table. If you're going to use a darker paint, you don't really need a primer, but since I'm going to finish this table in white, I decided to put 2 coats down, and then I just finished it off with 400 grit sandpaper. I ran to Walmart and got these little craft 10-inch rounds that were for sale, but they were going to be perfect for the base that I needed, and they were super cheap. I then just cut down some pull wrap to size using my saw as well, and just used my nail gun and a hammer to apply the pull wrap. I applied a few coats of white paint to finish it off, and then applied a paint wash on the legs just to keep the grain showing through. And here's the final result. I'm super happy how it came out. I initially got this table for free and now can relist it for over $400.
Your end result looked really good. Again, durability, starting off with that 40 grit is something we don't recommend, or I don't suggest, because you'll see your sanding scratches all the way through to the end finish. We can't see that in the pictures, but I'm pretty sure there were some sand scratches that would have translated through. And then even after he puttied with a water-based putty, he washed the surface down, so it probably washed off some of his filler. So I'm not sure how smooth the end finish would have looked in the end.
You can't polish 40 up to smooth?
If you go with other grits, if you go to like 40, then to 100, then to 200, then to 300, so on, you got to do that in stages to get through there. But he'd already cut through the veneer, and he left most of his finish on, so some of the sand scratches would still probably be visible after you're done.
Is there any way you can know that a veneer is a veneer without sanding through it? Because it seemed like he didn't know.
The table for that style and design would be veneer. You can tell by the end grain on the edge of the tables. You can see the seam lines of the multiple pieces of wood used.
Halfway through the video, he said that you don't need to lay down a primer if you're using dark paint, but he was using light paint, so he laid down 2 coats of primer. Is that true, and how do you rank his painting methods? I would recommend using a primer at all times, going over bare wood, because he did have bare wood, and he had left some of the older finish there. So primer is going to promote adhesion, and again, it's more about durability. So this table fit more into the decorative category. So it wouldn't really be a 100% restoration project. The table turned out really nice, excellent job there for appearance, but durability and the proper steps that we use in refinishing, he'll need more practice or more training.
Welcome back to me restoring this vintage Eames-style lounge chair. I traced each piece, leaving ample room for error. I cut out the pattern and a new cotton liner. I used a staple gun to attach the leather to the base. I had to remake all the buttons, which I did by using extra leather, scraping it to make it thinner, and using this button press. I sewed them onto the cushion using a ridiculously large needle. I did so much more to bring this piece back to life, but all of that effort and time took the chair from this to this.
Wow, he did a really nice job. That's a lot of work. Yeah, especially grabbing the patterns, sewing all the piping, getting the buttons in the right spot, recovering the padding, and refinishing the wood part. He did a really nice job refinishing that chair.
That sounds like a challenging first upholstery job.
This is definitely not your new to upholstery level job. He did a really nice job sewing the piping, placing it, making the buttons, all that, sewing his parts. He did a really good job. That's something that you usually don't see, in like a 3rd or 4th year upholsterer.
How do people usually get into upholstery? Like, what's like a basic job?
Like anybody, you probably started on a piece you had at home, took it apart, and then that's where your interests start. Once you're interested and you start working on pieces, then you want to do more, then that's the best way to do it, is start on your own pieces.
That piece seemed to have a lot of different intricacies. Not only did you have the leather, but you had the cord and the buttons. Are those embellishes still common in furniture? And if so, why or why not?
Anything with we call it piping and what you call it cording, is generally in more older stylish furniture. Some of the more modern furniture doesn't have that. And I think it's been eliminated just for the speed of production and cost.
How do you feel about that type of furniture design with a little leather embellishments? And
I like the piping on the edges because it keeps those seams nice and straight looking. He did an excellent job, and yes, I would hire him.
I almost passed when I saw this at the thrift store, an antique arched display cabinet for $60. This bottom piece of trim was just rotten. I couldn't save it, and it wasn't even worth trying to, so I just popped it off, and then I added some new trim. Then I did have to go in and recaulk some of the corners and crevices. I cleaned it for what felt like the 500th time. Then I primed it. For how old this is honestly in pretty good shape. For a piece like this, I wanted a statement color, something bold. And here's a little hack for when you're sealing it, especially if you paint it in a dark color. Mix some of your polyacrylic or polyurethane with the paint color. That'll help avoid streaks or white spots. This is the final look. This is the original brass hardware. The lock, it came with a key. So it's a win in my book, but let me know what you think.
Color wasn't my choice. I'm not a big fan of dark grays, but overall she did a wonderful job restoring that piece. And the trick of mixing your paint with your finish, that's an excellent trick. The clear finish, it gives you a much more harder, durable finish. And when you're refinishing or doing any project like this, you're looking for durability.
do you ever worry about mold in older wood pieces?
You might see some, but if the piece is 100% dry, it shouldn't reoccur. She did clean it, so I'm assuming that she used a good cleaning solution on it, and that usually will eliminate any mold. And then she painted it. So she did a nice job painting too, especially like I said before, mixing the color with your clear, that makes your top coat really durable.
This is one of the largest pieces that we've featured. How long do you think it would take the average person to sand a piece that size?
Oh, depends on how much you take off. You could put a whole day's worth of sanding in there, maybe even 2 days, depending upon how much sanding you do. And the finish sanding would be the most important part, like starting off the coarser grit and moving down to the finer grit before you start painting.
Most of the pieces of furniture we looked at are rectangles, squares, basic shapes with straight lines. This one had a nice little curve at the top of the hutch. Any additional considerations when you're dealing with older wood that has curves to it?
No, I would treat it the same. The top looked pretty good. The only place that she looked like she was had some rougher wood was on that bottom molding, which she replaced. Other than that, the piece looked pretty good. I think she did an excellent job, and yes, I would hire her.
I'll never understand the human propensity to paint over exotic hardwood furniture. The first thing I did was apply a liberal layer of paint stripper just as the instructions had told me to. While that took its time to do its thing, I took the time to remove these brass handles from the drawers. A very satisfying scrape revealed some beautiful quarter-sawn teak as the drawer front. This is called a cabinet scraper. It's a fine woodworking tool that leaves behind a lovely finish, and it also is very effective at removing this paint.
Well, this project just became an experiment. I probably should have read this first, but do not apply to green timber, oily woods. Example, teak.
Well. Quick Google revealed that if I wiped off the remainder of the oil before it dried and used some steel wool to prepare the surface for beeswax, I might just be okay. And you know what? I think I was. I'd never finished an exotic hardwood furniture before, so I'd forgive myself for making that mistake. Now, I might have a guilty conscience if I was selling this on as a furniture flipper, but lucky for me, I'm not. I'm just a guy who wants a glorified toolbox for his glorious tools.
I think it turned out quite nice. Teak is hard to finish. It is an oily wood, and there's numbers of different steps. A lot of manufacturers won't recommend their coatings going over an oily wood. He managed to make it look good, and he did finally use beeswax, which in the end would work well on top of a teak finish.
Apart from it being oily, what makes teak and other hardwoods more difficult to work with?
It tends to affect the drying times or the way that your finish dries if you use varnish and lacquer type finishes. It likes a slow drying oil or a good preventative sealer, fast drying sealer and lacquer.
In the video, the guy said that the worst part of woodworking is finishing. I think he was talking about the tedium of finishing. How do you feel about it?
I don't feel it's tedious to me, but then I'm not everybody, so I enjoy taking the look of it after you take it from raw wood when you start to just pour the finish on it, and how the color of the wood changes so quickly.
Why do you think the original owner painted over the teak wood, and how do you feel about people painting over wood finish?
Again, that's a personal choice. You may like the color, it may not suit the decor of your house. Painting's okay. Again, it's not a durable choice. In the end, if it was easy to strip off, so it was easy for him to restore that finish.
And how do you feel about him using it as a toolbox?
Mixed on that part there, because it's a nice piece. It deserves a nice spot in the house and maybe not the shop.
How do you feel about the videos you saw today?
Most of these videos turned out really well. I mean, their end finish was really good. There was only a couple there where the durability was in question, but then, they didn't start off with a very good piece to begin with. So in the end, they made it look a lot better. So overall, every single one was an improvement.
Thanks for watching Revive. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future uploads. You can also visit us at revivefs.ca to learn more about our professional furniture repair services. And if you're ready for more, there are videos on screen right now that we think you'll enjoy.